Honourable Todd McLeay.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much. The economy is growing, inflation is down, interest rates are at record low levels, and the regions are strong. The regions are strong and they're full of national voting citizens. You see, Mr Speaker, the government has a plan, it's working, and we're sticking with it. And the government is in touch with New Zealanders all up and down New Zealand. And by comparison, the Labour opposition is out of touch with all parts of New Zealand and especially the provinces. You see, Mr Speaker, one need only think back to the last election to reflect, and you would realise that the national government holds every single provincial seat in this country but two. Every single provincial seat in this country but two, and I'll come to those two in a moment. You see, Mr Speaker, every day national constituent MPs are out working hard and helping their constituents and listening to New Zealanders and dealing with the real issues that they face. And by comparison, the Labour opposition, who are out of touch, their approach to engagement with the provincial part of New Zealand is the occasional bus tour up and down the country. And there have been 3 fantastic tours in the 5 years we have been in government. There was the Phil Goff motorbike tour of the country. There was the David Shearer guitar-playing, surfing, hippie-wearing tour of the country. And now we have the David Cunliffe promises that I'm not going to keep tour of New Zealand. You see, Mr Speaker, David Cunliffe made every promise to every person that he had to become Leader of the Opposition. Promises all over the place. Anything that someone else proposed, he said he'd do it too, and he'd promise. He promised everything to everyone, all of the time, well, except for Trevor Mallard, of course. He didn't promise anything to Trevor. And I've got to say, Mr Speaker, I think that the Leader of the Opposition has got it wrong. Because I saw the Honourable Trevor Mallard on TV the other night with one of his constituents dealing with an immigration problem, and I've got to tell you, I actually changed my mind about Mr Mallard. He's the only person over there I've seen who there's any evidence that he's actually in touch with local people, and certainly the
Point of order, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, while I appreciate the member's assistance, this is destroying what's left of my reputation. I ask him to cease.
Order. And that is not a valid point of order. The Honourable Todd McLeay.
Well, Mr Speaker, I would apologise, but he wrote a wonderful article about me in a newspaper once, so it's only fitting we do the same for each other. But my point there was, Mr Speaker, this is the only member of the opposition that actually, I've seen evidence, is out talking to constituents. Now, let's think about what the new Leader of the Opposition has said. Census data will depict a widespread exodus from the regions. And what have we seen? Every region in New Zealand but one, the census data shows that the population have gone up. And it's more than that, Mr Speaker. In fact, we look at one of the 2 areas in the provinces that Labour holds a seat on the West Coast, and the new Leader of the Opposition, David Cunliffe, didn't even bother to talk to that MP, Damien O'Connor, because in the area that Damien O'Connor represents on the West Coast, there was a growth of population by 2.6%. So I guarantee you that Damien O'Connor, not only was he not asked, he's one of the majority in the party opposite who didn't vote for their new leader. Now, all up and down the country, national MPs are working hard. Let's have a look at this. In the Northland, where we hear Shane Jones going on about the doom and gloom, the hard-working Mike Sabin, Mr Speaker, real after-tax income over the last 6 years, wages went up by 18% in Northland. Population by 2.2%. Well, that's not evidence of the great exodus that David Cunliffe said we would see in the census. Let's come a little bit further south from there, Mr Speaker, to the Waikato, because with the exception of a few seats in Auckland, National has all of the rural and provincial seats in between Northland and the Waikato. And that's very clear in the Waikato, including Louise Upston, the hard-working Member of Parliament in Taupo. We had an increase of after-tax wages, 7%, population by 6%. In the Bay of Plenty, Mr Speaker, where we have Simon Bridges, Ann Tolley, Tony Ryle, the hard-working Member of Parliament for Rotorua, we hold every single seat in the Bay of Plenty. And of course, Mr Speaker, 14% increase in income, 4% increase in population. In Taranaki, where we have Burrows and Young, Taranaki and New Plymouth, the area that we've heard actually would be the worst in the country because of everything that's going on there, Mr Speaker, around oil exploration. 14% increase in after-tax wages, 5.3% increase in population all up and down this country, Mr. Speaker. The provinces have been growing and we are doing well. And why is this? It's because we have national MPs every day out working hard, representing... Well, in fact, you're right. In Gisborne it went down.
Order.
Because the Labour left
Order.
MP still lives there.
Speaker. Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker.